Hello and welcome, I'm Andrew, and in this tutorial I'll guide you through using JetSmartFilters to filter map listings created with JetEngine. We'll explore features that make your site more dynamic and interactive, such as filtering by proximity, displaying filtered posts on maps and grids simultaneously, and showing listings based on user location. I'll also explain how to automatically filter listings by their associated addresses or other metadata, depending on where they appear on your site. This functionality can be applied to e-commerce, hotels, blogs, and more. Additionally, we'll cover how to integrate filters with listings in both Elementor and the WordPress Block Editor. The tutorial will also touch on creating meta fields for custom post types and making filters in the JetSmartFilters dashboard. If you are familiar with these steps, feel free to skip ahead using the provided timestamps. By the end, you'll see why Crocoblock smart filters and map listings work perfectly together for dynamic site features. If you find this tutorial informative or inspiring, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more guides on using Crocoblock tools. Ensure JetSmartFilters and JetEngine are installed and activated. For using the Elementor editor, enable the necessary pages, listings, and custom post types for editing. Next, navigate to the JetEngine dashboard with the list of default and external modules. Here, turn on the Map Listings toggle. Go to the Map Settings section by clicking its toggle on the left side. You need to choose a map provider to enable access to its mapping service. For example, I've selected Google Maps in the Map Provider field and entered a valid API key in the following field. You can watch a tutorial on creating a Google Maps API key by clicking the link here, or check examples in one of our videos on map listings. Also, go to the Smart Filter settings, choose the indexer settings, and enable Use Index Filters if you want functionality where users can see how many items are within each category offered by different filters. Don't forget to specify the post types to be indexed. For this demonstration, I've already created a new custom post type with JetEngine, which I called Solar Companies. It includes a variety of custom fields to store different types of information about each post, for example, a text and text area fields for storing the title and description, several checkboxes fields, such as services and panel types, with options that I added using the bulk manual input method, an address field to input location details, which will be used to display listings on the map, a user rating field for inputting numeric values, time fields to showcase the opening and closing hours of each company, and a media field for logo. I also created a states taxonomy for this custom post type to demonstrate that filtering with categories works similarly to filtering with custom fields. After setting this up, I added 10 posts to this custom post type, assigned them to categories, and filled in various details, including a logo for each post. Then I created a listing template to display some of the post details on the map layout. Building a listing requires selecting an editor, as the same editor will be used later to create a post or page featuring the map listing. Let me show you how my listing made with Elementor is built. It includes a 300 pixel wide container with dynamic field widgets for the company, title, address, user ratings and services, as well as a dynamic image widget for the logo. I've also created a feature similar to Google Maps listings, showing open and closed notifications based on company's working hours and the user's local time. It also displays the hours left until the next status change using the human readable time difference callback in the dynamic field widget with the hours field source. These widgets have their dynamic visibility settings enabled to show or hide them based on the current time. Let's now proceed to creating filters by going to Smart Filters and clicking the Add New button. First, we'll create a search filter. Choose a filter name, select the search filter type, and in the Search By field, choose the Custom Field option. The search filter offered by JetSmartFilters is quite a powerful tool, and it's reviewed in more detail in one of our previous videos. The cool thing about this filter is that you can search through many content types from the same post simultaneously using the same filter. For this, you need to input targeted custom field keys in the query variable input field. For example, I'll input keys for the description field, panel types, titles, services, and year of foundation. As with all filter types, you can also insert a filter label that will be visible on the front end, as well as an active filter label which will be used if you later use an active filters widget. Next, I'll create several checkboxes filters. The first one will be called Search by States, and I will specify its data source as a taxonomy that I used for categorizing posts. I'll also use a union operator here, so when users choose two different options in the filter on the front end, they'll see items that are associated with either one of these options. Make sure the checkbox meta field is disabled this time because the source is not a JetEngine meta field. The next filter I will call Search by Services, set its data source as custom fields, and specify the relevant JetEngine custom field. To correctly display data from meta field that has multiple options selected, we must toggle on the Get Choice from Field Data switch. Choose JetEngine as the field source plugin, toggle on the Is Checkbox Meta Field option, and use the needed custom field key in the query variable input field. This time let's choose the intersection relation operator to see how it affects the filter results on the front end. The intersection operator will ensure that only listings with all the selected service options are displayed. In a similar manner, I will create another checkbox list filter for filtering companies by the solar panels they offer. For selecting listings by user ratings, I'll use a range filter type, which provides a slider with minimum and maximum values. I need to specify the step value as 0.1 and set the number of decimals to 1 so that filter correctly displays the values for rating selection on the front end. In addition to using the default slider for selecting the required range, we can also allow manual input of minimum and maximum values by toggling on the Inputs Enabled option. For this type of filter to source data correctly, we need to input the targeted meta fields key into the query variable field. Note that there are other methods to filter posts using numeric data. For example, instead of using a range filter, we could use two select filters with different numeric values set as options in the JetEngine glossary. Then we would select the comparison filters and connect the user rating custom fields through the query variable input fields. On the front end, the user would be able to choose from different values in filters and see all posts with ratings higher or lower than the selected values. Now I'll create two filters that will target different posts based on the location specified in their address field. The first filter will be a location and distance filter, which allows users to enter an address and search for nearby listings. There are no additional settings for this filter within the JetSmartFilters dashboard, but we will need to make further modification in the editor and connect it with the custom query created using the JetEngine Query Builder. Similarly, I will create a filter for user geolocation. When this filter is added to a map listing and geolocation is enabled, nearby posts based on user locations will be displayed by default. When the filters are finished, make sure to return to the Smart Filters dashboard and hit the Apply Indexer button to activate the indexer functionality. Let's set up a map listing with filters. I've started a page in Elementor with a basic layout for the map and filters. It consists of sets of containers styled with background colors and box shadows, creating a dashboard with filters on the left and map listing on the right with tags for the active filters above it. First, I'll insert a map listing widget into the right container. In the general settings, I'll select the map layout listing I created by typing its name in the input field. To display the map and listings, I'll specify the meta field containing the address data from the posts. If the filters, listings, and the Maps API are properly configured, the map will load the editor immediately or upon saving and reloading the page. Elementor provides extensive map customization options such as adjusting size, styling map controls, and adding dynamic markers with listings info, for example title, address, user rating. For now, I'll set the maximum number of posts to 10 and configure pop-ups to open on hover. Next, I'll add filters to the left column. For the user ratings filter, I'll drag the range filter widget into the filter section. As with all the JetSmartFilters widgets, I need to link it to a pre-built filter. When creating filters in the JetSmartFilters dashboard, we had to refine where in a post to look for data for filtering, such as a specific meta field. Once the filter is added to a page, we then specify where on a page to search for elements containing that relevant data. In the drop-down labeled This Filter For, we can select from 3 JetEngine listing types: JetEngine Calendar, JetEngine for basic listing grids, or JetEngine Map, which is the option I'll choose here. If there's more than one listing provider of the same type, such as multiple map listings, we can assign a unique ID to one of them and input it in the Query ID field to define it as the filter's target. Filters can also operate multiple provider types by enabling the Additional Providers Enabled toggle, which I'll demonstrate after setting up all filters. Another crucial setting for each filter is the Apply type. The first option, Ajax, enables refreshing the listing content without reloading the entire page. With this setting, the listing updates either when users click the Apply button or automatically when values are changed. Page Reload reloads the whole page, and Mixed option means only the listing is reloaded, but the page is assigned a new URL now. The Apply type options vary for different filters. For example, filters that function by typing in searched values have the Ajax on Typing option, which offers reloading after a specified number of letters are typed into the field. You can also enable the listing of a filter label to let users know what the filter does. There are many customization settings for filters available in Elementor. In the case of a range filter, some settings are specific to this filter type, like styling up the slider, while others are more general and deal with the typography of inputs and labels, their layout, and more. The next filter is a search type filter. Drag the widget into the panel, type the filter name, select JetEngine Maps as a provider, and choose Ajax on Typing to reload the map after 3 letters are entered. Enable the label's visibility. For the functionality of next to filters, allocation and distance, and user geolocation, a custom query is required. Let's create that query before adding the filters. Go to the JetEngine Query Builder dashboard and click the New button. Name your new query, and in the general settings, choose the post type to display on the map. In the pagination settings, choose the post number per page or set it to -1 to show all available posts. Navigate to Geo Search settings and select a point on the map to center the map when the page loads. Enter the meta field key for sourcing the addresses and specify the distance from the selected point to display posts on the initial map view. Finally, choose the units for the distance. Now go to the page editor, click on the map listing widget, and open the content settings. In the Custom Query section, toggle on Use Custom Query. Select the newly created query from the drop-down menu. If the name of the new query doesn't appear, save and reload the page, then locate and select the query. This is how you create and connect custom query for GeoSearch. Now we can insert filters that will filter listings based on their location on the map. First, add a location and distance widget. As usual, select the previously created filter by its name, choose the JetEngine Maps provider, set the event type for filtering, and update the placeholder text if you want. This filter allows users to type any location, select a radius around it, and filter listings within that radius. In the distance list section, you can modify or add new radius options. For better clarity, you might want to make the input radius field wide enough to include the text. This filter offers an additional feature. Clicking on the target icon lets users search around their current location if permissions are granted. If the website cannot detect their location, the search will be centered around the point on the map specified in the query settings. Next, add a widget for the user geolocation filter and connect it to the map listing. As you'll notice, this widget has minimal settings since it's not visible for users. It overrides centering the map on the point set with GeoSearch settings and instead focuses the map on the user's location using the same radius as the custom query. Next, let's add checkboxes filter widgets that connect to the post checkboxes fields. In the content settings, locate a checkboxes filter, select the filter's name, choose the input provider, and do other necessary adjustments. The checkboxes filters have some unique settings that I want to mention. The additional settings section allows you to customize how filtering options are displayed and navigated. You can add a search bar, which is useful for filters with many options, limit the number of visible options, convert the filter into a drop-down menu, and enable scrolling. If you have enabled the indexing functionality after creating filters, an indexer options section will be available. By toggling an apply indexer and show counter, we will allow users to see the number of posts available for each filtering option. You can decide whether to display filter options with no associated post and choose whether the number of posts update dynamically with other filters or remain static. I will integrate 2 more checkboxes filters below. Now let's add 2 useful widgets from the JetSmartFilters plugin for the map listing layout. The first is the Active Filters widget, which becomes visible once filters are applied. It displays the active filter label and the item used in that filter. After completing the basic content settings and some adjustments, I'll add the Remove Filters widget linked to the map listing and style it as a button. Clicking it clears all applied filters and it only appears when filters are active. Let's publish and preview the layout in Elementor. Since this demonstration is on a local server, the website cannot access my geolocation. Instead, the map centers on a custom GeoSearch point and displays posts within a 500-mile radius of that point. The posts initially appear on the map as markers or clusters of markers if they are close to each other. Depending on the settings in the map listing widget, the dynamic information from the post is displayed in a pop-up when I either click or hover over a marker. Each time I adjust the slider in the user rating filter, the map listing updates to display only posts with the selected ratings, and the map conveniently zooms in or out to fit the displayed listings. Such behavior applies to all other filters, as I used Ajax apply type everywhere. Additionally, the Active Filters panel dynamically displays the filtering conditions affecting the map view. The search bar connects to various meta fields from posts, including the description, title, and year. This allows users to locate a company by its title or by other details, such as the year it was founded, the services it offers, or the types of panels it sells. Note that when any filter is activated and limiting the number of posts displayed, subsequent filters only search within those results. Additionally, the counter numbers next to filter options will dynamically update based on other active filters if the corresponding setting is enabled in the indexer options of each filter. Now I will input a random location in California into a location and distance field. After typing 3 letters, suggestions for selecting an address appear. This feature is powered by the Google Places API, obtained alongside the Google Maps API. For a detailed explanation of how this functionality works, watch a video on address autocomplete on our channel. Once I select an address, the map refreshes automatically, but no posts are displayed until I adjust the radius to include posts within a range. There are 2 posts with addresses in Texas that are targeted by our map listing. They don't appear on the map because they're outside the 500-mile radius set in the query GeoSearch settings. If I input a different address and radius that include them, they'll appear on the map. This demonstrates that once activated, the location and range filter overrides the default location settings defined in the custom query. Clicking the aim icon in the location and distance widget centers the search around the user's geolocation if shared. If the user's location is not shared with the site, as it is in this case, the filter targets posts around the default point set in the GeoSearch query. just like when the map initially loads for the user. The checkboxes filters open in a drop-down layout with counters for the numbers of items in each option. Activating a filter displays matching posts and allows further filtering with additional criteria. The counters dynamically update both within the same filter and across other filters, although it's possible to configure them to remain static. For checkbox filters, I used different relational operators. One was intersection and the other two were union. Selecting multiple options with an intersection operator shows only posts meeting all criteria. This is the case with the services filter. The other two dropdowns use the union operator, so if I pick two or more options, the results expand instead of narrowing. The way filters are filtered when different filters are activated is based on the intersection relation type. Only posts meeting the criteria from each activated filter are displayed. For example, the GeoSearch query results to posts with addresses within 500 miles. And additional filters may narrow the results, but not include the posts outside that radius. Now let's explore another JetSmartFilters feature, dynamically displaying filtered posts in several different types of listings. I'll add a listing grid widget below to display targeted posts on the map while showing additional details in the grid. Perfect for information that doesn't fit well in map listings. Back in the Elementor editor, I'll duplicate an existing container and insert a listing grid widget in it. I have already prepared a template for dynamic post details in a grid layout, so in the listing grid's general settings, I'll select that template by its name. The listing for the grid layout includes some of the same information as in the map listing, while providing additional details about the company, such as descriptions and years of their foundation. To maintain visual consistency, I want the area with the listing grid to have height similar to the filtering dashboard and map above, so I'll use a slider layout instead of a multi-row grid. Next, I'll connect the filters to the listing grid. As you might recall, when setting up filters, we specified JetEngine Maps as the listing provider. To apply filters to both the map and the grid, I'll enable the additional provider toggle in the filter settings. I'll then add JetEngine as the provider and assign a unique CSS ID to the grid in its advanced settings, which I'll link to the filters and the remove filters widget by pasting it into their additional query ID field. Finally, I'll enable the usage of the same custom geolocation-based query for the grid, to ensure that the filters which rely on post geolocation data can filter the listing grid as well. Now when I use filters, both the map and grid update simultaneously. The Remove Filters button resets all filters and restores the default post view. Filters apply instantly, whether selecting a drop-down option, typing in a search filter, choosing a location, or setting a user rating. There are many situations where a layout combining a map and a grid listing is highly effective. For example, if you're researching stores or businesses, it's useful to visualize their location while also reviewing the services or products they offer. In some cases, it might make more sense to have the grid listing with the filters as the primary focus, with a smaller map on the side to quickly show the location of each listing. This approach makes it easier to comprehend the location at a glance compared to reading the addresses in the listing. There's one more functionality for automatically filtering posts in a map listing that I'd like to demonstrate, which is achieved using the query builder rather than filters. It involves displaying listings that meet certain criteria based on the custom post where the listings are published. For example, you can match the geolocation of the listings with the geolocation of their containing post or align field values between them. I already have a custom post type with two meta fields, one for an address and another for panel types, identical to the original CPT for solar companies. I'm going to create a custom post, select a value in the panel type meta field, and input an address. Then, in the Elementor editor, I'll paste the same content we previously built to demonstrate filters and the map listing on a page. My first goal is to display only companies that offer the panel types specified in the meta field of the custom post where the listings are implemented. This functionality can be especially useful for a blog page where you might want to show listings related to the topic discussed in an article. For example, if we have an article about polycrystalline panels, we can automatically display companies that offer those products. Similarly, an article about different type of panel with a different value in the relevant meta field would show listings of companies offering products related to that specific type. Our map listing already has a custom query to display posts within a specific radius. Let's navigate to the settings for that query, open the meta query section and click Add New Meta Query Clauses. This is where we match the value of a meta field from the listing with the one in the containing post. Click the button next to the first field key input field and select the JetEngine Meta Field option. Now in the field dropdown, locate and select the panel types meta field for the solar company's post type and then hit apply. For the compare operator, select the like option as it works perfectly with meta fields that have checkboxes values. Next, we need to specify which value will be searched for in the listings meta fields. Since this value should dynamically change based on the post where the listings are displayed, click the stacked coins icon next to the value input field. Then select the current meta value option and paste the name of the meta field from the current post type. Hit apply and update the query. Let's check how the map listing in the custom post type appears on the front end. The map listing will show only companies with the panel type specified in the current post meta field, and filters can still be used to refine the results. Now the custom query limits posts by proximity based on the geo-search settings and matching meta field values. Next, let's automatically filter settings based on the location of the custom post type in which they appear. To achieve this, we need to add a code snippet to the function PHP file of the active theme. You can obtain the code from the GitHub repository linked to the tutorial description. To activate the code, use a PHP snippet plugin or paste it into the Appearance theme file editor. The code modifies the query to use the post address field as the default location for GeoSearch, and it targets only queries with --post in their name. You must also ensure the latitude and longitude fields in the code match your JetEngine settings. For example, my custom fields use long strings of letters and numbers which I could copy when editing the post. In the code, I've added a part to indicate where to find the latitude and longitude values from the custom fields. Now go to the query settings and update its name. In the GeoSearch settings, the point that we have previously selected will now be overwritten by the function in the function's PHP file. However, the radius for filtering the post will still apply. Let's change it to a smaller radius and hit Update Query. Finally, let's check the front page. Now the map or grid listing will only display posts within 15 miles of the address specified in the post address field. We can continue filtering the listing selection, but the location and distance filter will not override the function's PHP setup. So when is this functionality useful? Imagine you have a website showcasing many hotels, where each hotel has its own custom post with an address meta field. Using this functionality, you can display nearby destinations, such as shopping centers, cinemas, tourist sites, or events that are located around each hotel. Or if you're running a real estate website, when users view one property, they can see other properties in the same area. And as we've seen, queries can be based on multiple requirements, so you can take it further by displaying listings that match both location and specific features, like displaying nearby houses with 2 stories, a garden, or a pool. Let's proceed to the final part of the tutorial, where I'll briefly show you how to create a similar layout with map listings and filters using the default WordPress Block Editor. I'll use the same filters, posts, and queries for Gutenberg as they are not editor specific, and I've already created 2 types of listings with the Block Editor, one for map listings and one for grid listings. On a new page, I've started assembling a layout similar to the one we created in Elementor, with panels for filters, map listings, and a listing grid. From here, I'll begin inserting blocks for the listings and filters, and we'll explore how this process differs in the block editor. First, let's add a map listing block next to the column for the filters. In the Settings panel, on the right side of the editor, I'll select the listing I created specifically for the map layout in Gutenberg. Next, I'll input the name of the meta field that contains the address data for the post to be displayed. This part of the process is the same as in Elementor. Frankly, most of the steps are the same, with just some controls being slightly different and in some cases even easier to use in Gutenberg. Further, you can modify the maximum number of posts displayed, adjust the max and minimum zoom settings, configure map controls, and customize the marker and pop-up design. Let's change the marker type to text this time so it displays post titles instead of map pins. While the block editor doesn't offer extensive styling, for Crocoblock elements you can use JetStyle Manager. For example, with a map listing, you can use this plugin to fine-tune the appearance of markers in great detail. Let's also enable a custom query for this map listing. I'll quickly jump to the query builder and revert the settings that make the query a target of the function's PHP code. This involves adjusting a GeoSearch settings to display posts within a wider radius and removing the specific part of the query name. Once the query is updated, I'll locate its name in a dedicated custom query field. Then I'll drag and drop a listing grid block into the bottom section of a pre-built layout. In the general block settings, I will specify the name of the listing I created for this purpose, choose the equal column height option, connect the same query used for the map listings, enable slider functionality just like I did in Elementor, and assign a query ID. Now, one by one, I will insert filter blocks into the left column of the top section of my layout. As with the previous editor, in each filter block, I will specify the filter name, connect the primary listing provider, map listing, and the additional provider, listing grid, with its ID. In the block editor, selecting providers is slightly quicker than in Elementor, as the editor automatically detects available options on the page. Although the block editor offers less customization by default, some aspects are quicker and easier to use than in Elementor. For example, the location distance block lets you easily input multiple distance values, creating options for users to change radius values, while in Elementor it requires a few extra clicks for each value. Additionally, with the JetStyle Manager, customizing the size for this block's elements is more intuitive. Now I've finished adding all the filter blocks, including the Active Filters tool and the Remove Filter button. I believe I was able to replicate all the functionalities I implemented in Elementor while paying little attention to the styling nuances. Let's check out how filtering the map listing and listing grid built with blocks works on the front end. On the front page, there are 8 posts in the map listing. This is because a custom query is applied, filtering posts only within 500 miles of the predefined point. All filters use Ajax apply type, so they dynamically update the post selection in both the map listing and the grid. In conclusion, the same functionality that was built in Elementor is successfully recreated here. First, a custom query verifies which posts qualify for displaying in these listings, and then filters impact multiple listing providers simultaneously, filtering posts using their geolocation custom field values or categories. That is all about the symbiotic usage of JetSmartFilters with the map listings provided by JetEngine in Elementor and block editors. Filters paired with listings are a powerful tool for searching, categorizing, and navigating content, while the visual map presentation enhances the user experiences. This combination is essential for modern designs, especially with the fast performance offered by Crocoblock plugins. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and give us a thumbs up to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and insights on building WordPress sites with Crocoblock tools. See you in the next video. Cheers!